If you're hearing that catchy music, it can only mean one thing. That's right, it's Tuesday. That means it's time for Comic Book School live show. Let me pull this thing off so you can see my sparkling happy face. That's right. Today is Tuesday, March 29th. And if you're a first-time creator hoping to get your first exposure into comics publishing, a rising talent building your audience, or an old grizzled pro like me, we welcome you to Comic Book School, where we talk about the craft and business of making comics. My name is Buddy Scalera, and I'm the founder of Comic Book School, a place where people just like you can learn about the craft and business of making comics. I'm also a comic book creator and publisher with nearly 30 years in the comic book business. I know I don't look like it, but it's true. I'm going to pull on my co-host. I am joined by three-time Emmy Award winning television writer and former Wizard editor and a true legend among robe owners. Please welcome my good friend, Mike Fasolo.
Hi, bud.
That is it looks like a slightly gray toned robe. Is it the same robe? Is it just graying?
It's the same robe. It just hasn't been washed in a while.
I feel a little bit better knowing that I'm going to be at your house soon and that you're wearing an old graying robe. I'm going to put my camera down a little bit. It's a little high. Do you like that? I got that desk, the magic desk.
Oh, the
up and down?
Up and down desk?
And guest rhymes with desk. We have a guest tonight, Mike.
No, we don't.
We most certainly do.
Who is our guest tonight, bud?
Our guest is one of my former editors, and he has not completely blocked me on social media or an email, and somehow I got through to him. He's running a fascinating Kickstarter. Wait, it looks like we've got our first oh, look at that! Solo. I got to tell you, Mike, your fan base of one among Vince and Vince is. You want to try to pronounce Vince's last name?
Vaitikunas.
Close. It's Vince V.
Oh.
That's the way to pronounce it.
Good enough.
So without any further ado, because we don't want any more ados, please welcome my former editor and current favorite indie writer, Nate Cosby.
Yay.
I'm furious.
He's
I was
furious.
not told the dress code. I could be wearing a robe. I could have bunny slippers on right now with like a mug of cocoa and tea, which I'm going to call Key, which is cocoa tea. But no, I'm sitting here dressed, fully dressed. I thought this was a fully dressed podcast. I'm furious. I feel overdressed. It's ridiculous.
Boy, I tell you, you should have known. You should have known. But you know what, Nate? I welcome you to our show. I couldn't be more excited. You edited the heck out of me when you were at Marvel and did a great job to help bring my story from absolute junk to full mediocrity, and I thank you for that. So I was pretty happy about that.
Look, I bring substandard work to a certain level of moderate professionalism, and I've been doing so for years.
And that's what you bring tonight to Comic Book School. Thank you for joining.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
So it looks like the sun is shining there. Are you in sunny California right now?
I'm in my basement, actually.
Oh, all right.
We have electricity in Greenpoint. But I think the sun is still up outside. I never go outside.
Is it? No, it's dark out our coast. It's sunny, Mike. It's sunny on your coast, right?
It is very sunny. Yes,
it's always sunny all through the night too. I sometimes go there and sleep, and all through the night it is sunny.
It's the way life should be.
That sounds terrifying. That sounds like that Al Pacino. What is that Al Pacino, Robin Williams,
yes.
Christopher Nolan movie?
Yeah,
it's called The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, it's Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, something like that.
And the opposite movie is 30 Days of Night, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Chippy, cheerful movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, Nate, you join us here. You have an unbelievable background. We'll get into your origin story. We'll get into your Kickstarter. But first, tell us a little bit about your secret origin. I imagine that the story gets interesting when you've met me at Marvel, but there's probably a little bit before that as well. So feel free to tell us your history.
I mean, obviously, like I come from my life is the stand like there's pre-BS and post-BS, pre-Buddy Scalera and then post-Buddy Scalera. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, raised in Columbus, Mississippi. You can tell from my thick Southern accent. And yeah, I just kind of always from about the age of 9, I knew I was going to make comics. I didn't know how or why or where or when or for whom. But I got an internship at Marvel at the same time that I was working on some television stuff up in New York. The editor left, and I just happened to be a warm body that could fill the seat. And so they put me in charge of most of the all ages books at the time, which is kind of where I ended up collaborating with you. And yeah, worked on a ton of other things like Greg Pak's Incredible Hulk run, Agents of Atlas, Jeff Parker and others, Leonard Kirk. And yeah, Marvel Illustrated, Wizard of Oz books, Thor the Mighty Avenger, did that for about 6 years, and then left for other stuff. And I've been running my production company, Linney Incorporated, for I guess over 10 years at this point. Just kind of packaging and producing and editing, overseeing books for just like a ton of different companies. And yeah, writing when I have like 15 minutes before I go to sleep. So, like, so that's why I do a book every 4 years or so.
But no, I don't know. That's not too bad. I mean, when you consider how much production goes into it, you have to do everything yourself, right? Like you're more or less a solopreneur, a publisher, right?
I don't draw much of it, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I over Linney Incorporated is basically me and whoever I bring on to work on the books with me. So yeah, you know, it's a time consuming kind of thing, but I try to make time, you know, especially since you know, it is just me and I want to make some stuff on my own. I try to make the time to write some stuff on my own. When I find, it's usually predicated on when I find the right collaborative team. You know, it's like if it were not Jacob, if I were not working with Jacob, Alter Ego would not be. If I had not wanted to work with Jennifer L. Meyer, the effervescent adventures of Fight Bunny would not exist. And if I didn't love Chris Eliopoulos so much, we wouldn't have co-created Cowboy. So, you know, that's how it goes.
Now, I noticed that you did branch into Substack. Real quick, you know, what would we know from Linney Incorporated being your, I guess, your company that you do business under, and then you have a Substack, which I imagine is a paid newsletter.
It's not, no, totally free.
Oh, no,
I can't give it away. No.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've been trying to give away Mike's scripts for years, and nobody even wants them.
Nobody wants to hear about them.
No.
It's awful.
I'm bored right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think you do some behind the scenes. I think I had read that you kind of show the making of the sausage.
Yeah, before we launched the Kickstarter, I subtitled the Substack in medias res, in the middle of things, because we basically just wanted to show the audience, like, hey, here's the guts of what we're doing. Here's how the sausage is made. Mm-hmm. And it's been a just a process kind of thing that we've then brought in a little bit onto the Kickstarter updates as well. So yeah, it's a good opportunity, again, when I have time, because it's my job requires a lot of reading and writing and concentrating and then laying down on the ground for 4 minutes, then having coffee and cashews and getting back to it. So whenever I have time to write it, I will write it. But
sounds taxing, Nate. Sounds
yeah.
So all right, so I have to tell you, it's a great pleasure to see a Kickstarter that looks this unbelievably pro and tight, coming out. And I have to tell you, it is such a wonderful high concept of a superhero who is actually two superheroes who just can't fight enough crime. And I'm a sucker for this kind of art. It reminds me a lot of Mike Parobeck and a lot of the Dark Knight early Batman work. And your settings are beautiful, of sort of this vaguely retro Hollywood, and yet you can't actually pin it down, but just such a fun little book. Tell us a lot about this book, and then we'll get into the mechanics of the Kickstarter. Yeah,
so it's called Alter Ego, and it's by myself, artist Jacob Edgar, colorist Kike J. Diaz, and then Russ Wooten on lettering and design. And it's basically the idea of, what if one guy was two superheroes? I worked on superheroes for many years at Marvel, and then kind of when I decided to leave there to do other things, I don't know. I felt a little burnt out on the concept, just on the genre. I still love the medium. I still love comics and sequential art, cartoons and such. But it was just like, I just feel like I've had too much ice cream. It's like I just kind of need to expand my diet, expand my palate a little bit. So I went to go do other stuff, and I've been lucky enough to be able to do that. But after a few years go by, like there was just something that started pinging or scratching in the back of my head, and I don't know. I think I sort of started thinking about when I was a kid and the fundamental concepts of, what is a superhero? Why do I like superheroes? Like it's sure like everybody likes superheroes, but like, why do I like superheroes? Which superheroes do I really care about? Which writers and artists really meant a lot to me? And I just kind of started from the core of like, somebody wants to help. It's like, it's very simple at the core that you can dress it up in all different kinds of ways and have different dynamics and personalities and settings. But it's like somebody wants to go out and help. And I started thinking to myself, like, okay, well, so if somebody had the ability and wanted to go do that, maybe they put on a costume and go out during the day and fight crime. But in my opinion, like for me, for my career, like when I'm making comics, I don't get to the end of my day and shut that off. Like if I have another idea, I'm going to grab my notebook and scribble something out or shoot an email to somebody. And so I thought like, well, you wouldn't want to stop. You'd want to maybe like let the sun go down, grab a bite to eat, feed your dogs, maybe go out with some friends for a minute, and then come back home, put on a different costume and go fight crime as a different kind of character, because you need a different kind of approach for the day and the night. It's like that. It's the Captain America, Captain Marvel, Superman contrasted with Wolverine or Batman or Punisher kind of thing. You need to bring a different toolbox to the different situations. And so when I started thinking of like, well, that would be ridiculous, that would be impossible, but also just being one superhero is pretty impossible in and of itself. So who cares? We're making all this up anyway. So it was like, what would that, I kind of took it from a personal standpoint of like, because as I said, like when I was working in New York at first, like going to Marvel, working all day, going back home, taking a run, getting some food. And then I was writing scripts for like the Electric Company or other TV shows at night until like 5 o'clock in the morning, go to sleep for about 2 hours and go do the entire cycle over again. I did it for a while, but it's not sustainable. And that's kind of what I brought to this project, where it's like, yeah, when you first see this guy, it actually kind of looks like he's balancing this. It kind of looks like he's getting away with it, until there is a point in the story where he is really not getting away with it. And you start to see the problems that come when you spend all your time trying to be two totally different kind of people. First off, you probably do that badly. And then you also lose your sense of self, let alone anybody that's around you and the sacrifices that you may ask them to make. So as I started thinking about the idea of one guy trying to be two heroes, I actually thought of this one moment from the Grant Morrison, Frank Quietly Batman and Robin series, where Dick Grayson is grousing to Alfred. It's like, I hate being Batman. This sucks. Commissioner Gordon doesn't respect me. The cape's too heavy. This little Robin sucks. I hate this. I can't do this. And Alfred's like, just, it's a performance, bro. Like, just like he said it in a British accent, but it's a performance, bro. It's like, come on, man. It's like the world is like, this is your stage. You just have to basically fake it till you make it. Like, you're like, go on the stage and put on your costume and go play. And that was part of the inspiration that I started thinking of. It's like, oh, these are performances for this guy. This guy is not these people. He's acting like these people. And that really started to unlock, it unlocked the characterization for this guy, like the way that, like when he's the daytime superhero whiz bang, back straight, chest puffed out, smiling all the time, kissing the baby, shaking the politician's hands, fighting sci-fi robots. Then when he's at night as the Black Dog, hunched over, he's wearing padded stuff, so he looks a lot heavier. He's got kind of like a weird limp, like he's almost like a possessed, hurt animal. And so he sees these as the roles of a lifetime. He sees these as performances. And that kind of also informed the setting that we wanted to do. Because when I thought like, he's performing, well, he's a failed actor, obviously. Like he can't, like if he were a movie star, he wouldn't be doing this. He'd be too busy being in popular movies. So maybe he's a failed actor and maybe he's a stuntman. And so I came up with a stuntman, Ace Adams, put it in the 1940s, which is when mine and Jacob's favorite movies are, and had him just going out into Hollywood and just like fighting crime as these two different guys. And so that's basically the road and how we came up with the concept.
Mike, it sounds like there was a lot of writing before the actual writing started, huh?
Yeah, that's
different than how we write.
Yeah, just instead of just sitting down and throwing stuff on the page and hoping that it's good.
We're just throwing nouns and verbs
lots of research.
Yeah.
I think what's great is how you've created sort of a modern interpretation of the superhero, and yet it's not so far that you're trying to be Watchmen. You're just being thoughtful and thinking what might it really be like. And I think that's a refreshing approach.
It just like I for one thing, I think if that's what you're looking for, there's plenty of comics where it seems as though that people are fans of Watchmen. Like there's lots of that, and so I don't want to go into that market, but like I when I think of my top 5 favorite comic book runs, or my what superhero runs, top 5 favorite characters, like it always ends up being kind of the not necessarily sunnier characters, but just characters that feel that it's worth doing, that they want to be doing this, that they're not overly burdened and morose about all this thing, and the world does not completely beat them down. There's still, even if there's been like difficult things in their lives, there's still that glimmer of hope, that wanting to do things. So it rotates often, but like usually my favorite superhero is Golden Age Superman, like pre-flight, bounding around, smiling, and like, stop, hey, you stop hitting your wife, and you governor, come here and get this person out of the electric chair, and criminal, I'm going to like jump on electrical wires until you admit that you did something wrong. And it's like, I mean, like, like he's kind of having fun. He's kind of taking the piss out of this whole thing. And I wanted to be able to, show someone that is genuinely trying to do good. And that doesn't always, it gets messy. It doesn't always work perfectly, but I didn't see, I don't know, the story that I wanted to tell, it just didn't have that, I don't know what it is, detachment or irony or bitterness or something like that. That was just not really that's just not really what I was aiming for.
Now, when you were an editor, were you absorbing these types of lessons and feeding them back to your writers? Or did you come in with this concept that you wanted to dig deeper in? Like, where did this learning come from that eventually manifested to where you are today?
I mean, it was a lot of learning on the job kind of thing, right? Because I would imagine, I'll speak for myself, like when I first started working in comics, I was coming from my experience of reading them. I did not have a lot of experience making them before I was suddenly making them. Mm-hmm. So I like to tell everybody, like, I got hired at one point and 6 months later, I knew what the heck I was doing. But yeah, it I don't know, like you have these ideas of what a superhero is, but then you also got to be able to, like, as an editor, especially because I'm not the author of the book, of a lot of the books that I worked on. Like, I didn't come up with the character. I'm not writing the character, but I'm casting the writers, or I'm collaborating with the writers to try to figure out themes and stuff like that. And it's worthwhile to find interesting wrinkles, like, especially when you're working on, I don't know, like at any given, I think at the apex, I was maybe working on 25 to 35 books a month. Wow. At the most. And it's like, you got to find some delineations. You got to find some differences in some of these things. And there's like, the Hulk is not a full on superhero all of the time. And the Agents of Atlas, they were more of a spy thing. And the Spider-Man-less Mary Jane, that's a completely different kind of approach to superhero stuff, coming from the perspective of a love interest, basically. So yeah, you need to mix it up, basically. You need to not be afraid to try things. You need to not be afraid to make things unique, basically, because it's pretty easy to make just a regular bog standard meat and potatoes superhero story. You know, it's like, oh no, attacking thing. Let me attack the thing. Oh, it hit me. I'll hit it differently. I did it. I can do that 22 pages at a clip anytime I want. You know, it's like, but it's like, let's go a little further. What else are we doing? What are you trying to say with that? Who is this character? What's a different kind of approach? Who is the villain? Who are the supporting characters? All of that kind of stuff. So it's try to make it all work in concert, try to make it interesting each time.
So Nate, before we go into the paying the bills part of the show, where you talk about how you pay the bills with comics, especially on.
I was hoping you were going to tell me how to do that.
No, Mike's got a credit card machine, the real old one with the carbon on it.
Great.
Going back to your Marvel days, and I know it's been a little while, but our audience it's full of folks who want to break in. Any advice for those who are writers who are trying to get in there, things that you remembered that worked from people who got their foot in the door? You want to just talk a little bit about that before we move on to the other Kickstarter parts?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I say this a lot of times, and I know this can be a very difficult aspect of it, but if you're a writer and you're trying to get into comics, the number one thing that you need to try to do is to get a comic made.
Yeah.
You need to find collaborators. If you do not draw yourself, if you don't color, if you don't letter, you need to establish some working relationships with some people. And I would suggest you do creator owned. I would suggest that you not, like, if you're trying to break in at Marvel, I would, like, don't write a Hulk comic because they're not going to use that. Mm-hmm. You're basically just like creating something that would probably never get used. So you want to do something creator owned that you can then take, and you can go to another publisher that does creator owned stuff. You can also self-publish in several different ways at this point, Comixology and otherwise, Kickstarter. But you need to prove to an editor, you need to prove to the gatekeeper, if you want to work for the big two or some other company, like, you need to show what you can do. And editors, it's just a matter of time during the day. It is easier to read a comic than it is to read a script cold. It's like I'm just much more likely to pick up a comic and read the first 5 pages to see if it hooks me than I am to just start reading through a script that I don't even know what this is about. I don't know who this is. And I don't, it's like, because I just came off of reading 12 scripts. And so lucky number 13 here is like, I don't know. So yeah, I encourage everybody. That does not mean that you trick your team into doing it for free. Like, everybody needs to get taken care of. It's about everybody, like I went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. It's a much bigger, the sequential art department is much bigger than it was when I was there. But, like, you can work with a student, with a peer of yours, to try to collaborate on something and both learn as you go. You can certainly go online. Like, I have a pretty big platform, but, like, even someone with that's still trying to break in can go online and try to find some samples. And then, like, you sell yourself to your art team, they sell themselves to you, and you work together to try to build something. And then you both have a calling card to show to other companies. So that's what I always encourage. The way to do it, the way to pay for it, the way to make that exist, and then the way to connect that to get that into people's hands. Like, that's there's so much luck involved in that. But the first step is just making something. You got to make something.
That's true, Mike. It's the same way in Hollywood, right? You do spec scripts, but not for the actual show that you're speccing.
Yeah, you don't do it for the show because they can't read them. So you just, it's better to write like a brand new original pilot or something, just to show that you can do it.
Is it not both? I thought sometimes you, like, agents would have you do, like, whatever, like, do a Law and Order and do a Chicago Med and then do your original. Like, did they not want to have, like, a proof of concept kind of thing?
It all depends on what's, obviously what's popular at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, when Rick and Morty first came out, everyone's like, we need a Rick and Morty script. But, then you're putting all your effort into the Rick and Morty thing. And you can't really give the Rick and Morty script to the Rick and Morty people. So
Right.
you can, maybe pass it off on The Simpsons or some other animated show and hopefully get a, staffing job over there. But from
Yeah.
what I've, been working with, especially lately, they're always like, just write original stuff. And they can see that you can come up with your own characters and your own plots and, your whole world.
So taking Nate's idea, like Law and Order and Chicago Hope, could you do like Chicago Law and Order Hope?
Oh, absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
one massive mashup.
It's lawyers who are also doctors. Yeah. So they're practicing law as they're operating on
crimes.
I like how it's Chicago Law and Order, comma, Hope. It's like we put that, like, look, Chicago, there's a lot of law, there's a lot of order, but we also have some hope.
We have some
There's
hope. And speaking of hope, this is a perfect transition. I hope you get some money tonight because we have an audience of people who have extremely deep pockets, Nate. Their generosity knows no bounds. Mike is probably taking out his credit card right now. We're looking at your alter ego Kickstarter. When we started, it was 18,729, and now it's at 18,729.
We're rocketing up there.
Nate, this is time well spent for you, I would say. Okay, so our audience is thinking a lot about Kickstarters, and they're trying to figure out how much money they need and then what kinds of tiers that they can provide. Can you just give us a brief overview of your tiers and not the ones that you weep when you think of the time you wasted?
I was about to say, it's week 3 of the campaign. There's lots of tiers right now. It's
You're
just
laying
lots
on your
of
floor with your cash.
He's weeping now. He's like, why did I agree to this?
I've been through 5 of these Kickstarters right now, and I've enjoyed each one more and more as I find my footing and feel like I have a feel for how this kind of stuff works. But every time week 3 rolls around, and I don't know how many times you've watched Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World, but there's this long sequence where they hit the doldrums and the water is still and there's no wind for the sails, and they're all trying to decide who's the member of the crew that needs to grab a cannonball and jump and drop to the bottom of the ocean to sacrifice to the gods so that the wind comes back. But I feel similar to that. I'm looking
on this show right now.
Well, I was going to say, I've only got 2 cats and my girlfriend here right now. So I'm thinking 2 of them two people don't have thumbs. It's as far as tiers go, as I said, this is my 5th, and it's going to be different. I try to approach each of these campaigns with totally fresh eyes. Because when I first started, it was only a couple of years ago, there was this idea that, you need to do as few tiers as possible. Then by the next time I did my second campaign, it was doesn't matter how many tiers, chuck them all in. And then then it took another turn and it came around and it was maybe focus on add-ons, which were not really a thing when I first started. So you really, what I would encourage anybody that's doing a Kickstarter to do is really pay attention to the updates and what they're doing and why they're doing it. Check and see what campaigns are successful and look at why they're successful. Try to delineate the difference between okay, so Scott Snyder or Keanu Reeves, they seem to be doing awfully well, so I'll just copy them. Well, very few people are Scott Snyder. I think there's one. But you so you need to take it with a grain of salt. Look at what worked there, but then also look at the lower, the ones with lower thresholds, the ones that are looking to make just, people that are not as well known, that are literally just trying to make a couple $1,000 to be able to build their dream project and see how they're effective, see what their interactions are with the pledgers and stuff like that. And do what works for you. I personally don't think there's such thing as too many tiers or too few tiers. First campaign I did was Dragon with Saladin Ahmed and Dave Acosta. And I think when we started, I think there were 2 tiers. I think there was Early Bird and the book, and that's it. And then we added a retailer because a few retailers wanted it, but that was pretty much it. Didn't even do a digital version; just wanted to do the hardcover.
I did notice that a lot of creators these days, Nate, are doing, almost sometimes unrelated rewards.
Yeah.
Right. You're pretty, you're pretty straight down the middle, which is you've got a lot of variant covers, you've got a digital, and then you could just get the book with whatever cover you want plus print. So it's pretty, it's pretty on message. I think it's I
it's
think it's nice to
focused.
see. Yeah, it's very focused, and it seems like your audience is responding to it. I mean, with 3 weeks to go, you're what is it? Mike, what's the math on this? About 1,220, 75, or
$1,075,000.
Mike, our math guy.
I was told there would be no math.
I don't have my calculator with me.
It seems like do you have a sense of what is funding in this one right now? Like where your primary backing is coming from?
Oh, I think no. The answer is no. It's like we actually, I will say that the benefit this time is we did a very long lead in to the launch. Like we announced the project, I want to say over 3 weeks before it actually launched.
Oh,
so
wow.
we got a big notification bump. I think we were hovering somewhere around 550. So, 550 people that were going to get an email as soon as it went live. So we already had that jump, and then we had some marketing that we were doing, some interviews that were released on the day, and then doing some podcasts and stuff like that. But like you said, I wanted to keep it relatively slim. I really wanted to avoid doing commissions. In the past, I'd ask people to do commissions, which are, that's frankly just not really related. Like if I ask an artist, hey, will you donate this, and then you do it, and then they draw whatever the person asks. That's not connected to there's nothing wrong with that. And I may do that in the future, but I wanted to try to avoid doing that.
It seems like it's a lot of extra work too, because, you've got to either get them to do it ahead of time so you have it in hand, or you have to go nudge them to get it done.
It can be.
And I think that, as you start to move forward, how did you come to the number where you had that goal? Like what math did you do to come to 20,000?
It was, it's the basics to make the book. It's like we wanted to be able to make the book, which means that it's got to be worth Jacob's time. It's got to be worth Kike's time and Russ's time. All of the cover artists are compensated. And then I've got to be able to take the time to write and oversee the entire thing. I'm writing and editing it myself. And then there's the publishing, the shipping, the storage, all of that fulfillment stuff that we're doing. So yeah, that's how much it costs. I try to be, especially with the stuff that I write, I try to, I come at it from a very humbled place where it's I'm not shooting for the moon here. I just need what I need to be able to make it. And then once we've made it, then we can, explore other avenues of what to do it, either add a sequel or work with a publisher to do a new edition or something like that. But yeah, that's how we get that number.
Yeah. And so that number at 20K, you're the sole owner of this?
Jacob and I, we are co-creators, co-owners. Yeah.
Okay. So 20K is the business of making the book. It's not necessary. It's maybe making a small margin, but for the most part, it's about making the book.
I have already put a significant down payment on a yacht, but other than that, yeah, no, it's what we need. It's what we need to make it. A little more would be nice, just a little bit, but generally speaking, whatever I make on crowdfunders, I plug right back into my next crowdfunders. So it all kind of perpetuates.
And now specifically, Russ Wooten,
Dream Come True, guy.
Right? Dream Come True, creator fulfillment. You have a list of top 5. Russ is on it, right?
Love Russ. Love.
We love Russ. Mike, we're gonna see Russ when I come out. Yeah. California, right?
We know that guy.
We know and adore Russ. He is a good friend from the Wizard days. A wizard, but also a good artist in and in his own right.
Yeah,
right. He is. He's actually doing. I don't think I've said this anywhere else, but he's actually going to be doing a cover for Alter Ego.
Wow!
Yeah, he's a really good cover artist. Really
he's a fantastic cover artist. He will not come on camera on the show, Nate. So I would close the gap on your thing myself tonight, but if Russ can't come on tonight,
Man,
If only he was here.
if only there's
Unbelievable.
$1,275 in it for you, but
what can I do? Darn you, Russ. Yeah. No, I know Russ from back in the Marvel days. You know, like he was tangentially related to all the virtual calligraphy stuff with Joe Carmagna and Chris Eliopoulos. And yeah, he lettered Thor: The Mighty Avenger, which is where like I was looking for something really specific with that book, you know, like a John Workman-esque kind of approach that he did, that Workman did with the Simonson run on Mighty Thor. So it was he really took to that, and then we played around with a modified version for Alter Ego as well. It's yeah, I wanted somebody that really brought the thunder on lettering and design with this kind of stuff.
brought the thunder.
That would be Thor.
Mike, when I see Russ, I'm going to say Nate said Russ brought the thunder.
He did.
Hold on, let's just see what's going on here. Would Mike offer to auction the robe to help Nate? That would leave Mike naked.
I would be robeless.
Robeless. Because that's not even a full shirt. That's just a cutout, right?
It's just the neck. It's nothing else.
That's not.
I also feel really conflicted because, like, if you auction it off now and then you take it off and start shipping, like, then you're just a naked man on here. For
he
the
is
rest
just
of
yeah. And nobody really needs to see that.
And so, like, I'm happy that it's funded, but also I'm just like staring at a naked man. So I don't know how to feel.
Good and bad.
I'm feeling a little icky right now. We actually have a real question, if you can believe, Nate. I'll read it for you in case you can't read off the screen yourself. Doesn't it take even several self-published comics first before shopping that intellectual property or other scripts to editors/publishers? I think he's going back to thinking about handing it to you as an editor at a publishing house.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's like I can speak because I when I was at Marvel, I was in Mark Panisha's office, and our office was the hub for all incoming stuff, be it artists or scripts, that kind of thing. So it's like new talent. Like we had a pile. You know, it's like it was a gigantic pile off to the side of our desks where, you know, like any given time, either we would take a script off the top, or an intern, you know, I was an intern, so I can speak to this. Like I would take something off the top and give it a read. And if I thought it was kind of worthwhile, maybe I'd hand it to an editor, or occasionally. It didn't happen a lot, but, you know, it could happen. But each time it's like, you know, I don't really care if you've got like the, you know, like the Image logo on the top left, or Dark Horse, or your own thing. It's like, it's a comic, you know, it's a physical thing that I'm looking at. Or if you're able to email in a specific kind of way, and there's a PDF to open, it's like, it looks like a comic. If it looks like a comic, I will read the comic, you know, like, and an editor will when they have the time, and when it is time to actually do that kind of stuff, it's a comic. Like, sure. Does it help if you broke in and got a comic at Skybound? Like, sure. Like, yes, that is definitely more beneficial, but it's not the only way that you can do it. And to the question is like, doesn't it take several self-published comics first? Like, well, sure, maybe make a bunch of comics, you know, it's like, but start with one, you know, start with that first one, learn some stuff about what you did well and what you didn't, and then make another one. And then maybe by the third or fourth or fifth, you'll really have something. I've made a lot and I still don't know what the heck I'm doing. So eventually I'm going to get to it, to knowing what I'm doing.
All right. Now I have another follow-up Kickstarter question. I think this is serious. Okay. New tactic. How much would the audience pay to keep Mike clothed?
Oh, I think you'd make a lot more money that way.
Or colt-headed, however that was actually spelled. I should know.
How much would it cost to put a horse head on top of Mike?
To be colted. What? What is happening? All right. So, Nate, people should be also giving you money. I'm going to just...
Hey, we got one backer.
Did we? Hold on.
Let's
see what happens. I'm going to share the screen, see if...
Oh, wait. That was Ron Mars. Never mind. I don't know if he's watched.
I'll take Ron Mars. Ron Mars watches this show like a hawk. What do you give you $10 or something? No, he gives you.
I can't, like, it's weird. It's a $sign and the middle finger. I don't understand how he did that.
All right, so people should check out your Kickstarter. They should subscribe to your Substack. Where else can they find you, Nate? It looks like there's an @ symbol there in your name.
That's me. I'm on Twitter at Nate Cosby. If you're an aspiring artist, colorist, letterer, especially, like I do a bunch of, I'll go on artist searches all the time and say like, I need 3 artists for a new project or something like that, or I'm looking for a new colorist, new letterer to break in. So if you're always welcome to @ me. I look at every single sample. I can't always respond, but I will look at every single sample and that kind of thing.
Well, that's good. I will.
Yeah.
I will send you my artwork, Nate.
Oh,
I'm not an artist.
There's one exception. I meant to say everybody except.
Yeah.
Except Mike or Buddy.
All right. So, Nate, you'll be funding very soon. So congratulations. Great job. One question that I ask every guest and put them on the spot. I ask what's one piece of advice that you wish you had received early in your career?
Sleep. Man, sleep. just like get on track in your early 20s to like aim for 6. It's just like you don't have to get 8, you don't have to get 9. But now it's just like, like I'm training for a marathon and I'm doing all these things. And it's like, I wish I could just sleep for 7 solid hours, but it never happens. But I mean, it sounds stupid, but I'm joking, but I'm actually not, because it's like, you can do so much more if you rest. I thought when I started out, it's like, you just got to keep going and grinding and pounding and do all of it as quickly as possible. And I'll sleep when I'm dead and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you need time away. You need time to get your creative juices and your work ethic rebuilt. So you need to rest, you need to relax, and then you need to come back at it with fresh eyes. So
I think that's good advice. Mike, you have an exceptionally good sleeping regimen, and you've won how many Emmys?
3
TV writing Emmys.
You need time to put on the robe and just wander around in it.
You are like an Olympic level sleeper too, though.
Yes, naps are fantastic.
Naps are fantastic.
Things.
I did notice. I think you said that you've been taking 3 micro naps during this entire process.
Yes.
Yes. I look over and it's just like,
slipped in the face of me just staring at the screen.
Right.
Well, Nate, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm going to put you into the green room. Don't go far away because we'll be done in a few minutes, and then Mike will show you what is not under the robe. All right. Thanks for joining, and we're going to remove Nate. That was Nate Cosby. I have to tell you, he's a very funny and genuine guy, isn't he?
Yeah, educational stuff that we need.
It was educational. I hope he funds tonight because of us.
I will get on Kickstarter and fund him a bit.
Will you?
Yes.
You will not.
I will. No, I will.
Will you? You kick in $10 or something?
I will kick in $10.87.
I don't think he takes increments of 87.
Oh well, right. $10 is all he'll get.
Look at this. I knew the key to success was about the right robe. Thank you, Comic Book School. Exactly. You're welcome. All right, Mike. So I have a check this out tonight, which means I need to pull up our world famous check this out. That gives you a minute to look around the room frantically to see if you've prepared for this moment.
No, I have not.
You have not.
I have not. I've found some books that I want to read about educational stuff, but I haven't read them yet. So.
I found, just like Nate, I found a marathon that I'd like to run, but I really haven't gotten around to running that marathon. All right, my 2 check this out. I have 2 actually. One is we are about to begin our NFT and crypto class. We're going to be having a private message board for it. This is the main message board for the crypto and NFT class. I should note, Mike, I recently sold my very first NFT.
Congratulations.
That's right. I sold one of my pictures for $93 for one of my photographs. That's right. It was part of a series of photographs that I took that were like this, all about coloring and painting with light. I'm now right there is part of the Hell series where I took photos of my backyard.
Is there an actual fire that back there?
Long exposure? No. Those are just that's just an incandescent light. This token, this is the official comic book school token designed by Vince V. And anybody who registers for the class, it is a free class. It's 6 weeks. Will get their first NFT for free, Mike.
Oh, and then can we resell it?
You can do whatever you want. I will not. It is worth noting that I have minted these. I will not sell any of them myself. The only way to get them is directly from me or in an aftermarket. So anybody that completes the class, we have 2 or 3 open seats. If you go into the Crypto and NFT Club main board and you just tell me that you're interested, you will be able to do it. It is free. This first class is free. Future classes, unfortunately, I will charge you out the nose for. Listen, fellas got to make money. I can't just keep running Kickstarters that don't
just
fund.
Keep sell some more of your NFTs.
I'm going to keep selling my NFTs. And then also people should jump in. I was thinking that Nate was coming on, and I remember, I think I pitched Nate on a Marvel comic proposal. And as everybody knows, I have never made a pitch to an editor that was accepted. So Nate, sitting in the green room, don't feel badly. No editor has ever accepted me for anything ever. But I did note that if I were going to be able to write one obscure Marvel or DC character, my Marvel one would be Machine Man and my DC one would be Commandy. And I want to hear what people else have to say. People are starting to jump in and give them. Mike, do you know what obscure Marvel or DC character you would write if they said you can't touch the main heroes, but you can go into the back catalog and write whatever you want?
No.
I'm going to pull Nate right back in from the green room, and I'm going to ask Nate the same question. Nate, what obscure Marvel character would you write if they gave you the keys to the obscure characters catalog?
Oh man, Green Lantern? Is that?
No, I don't think that's obscure at all.
Maybe Batman.
I loved damage control. You know, it's like
me too.
One of the career highlights that will never be topped is the fact that, you know, as I said, I did Greg Pak's Hulk stuff, including World War Hulk, including the post World War Hulk miniseries spinoffs subtitled World War Hulk: After Smash.
There's a lot of words going on here now.
I'm not done. Including the 3-issue miniseries World War Hulk: After Smash: Damage Control, written by Damage Control creator Dwayne McDuffie.
Wow.
I got to work with Dwayne McDuffie for 3 issues.
That's a lot to process.
By the time you got all that cover copy done, was there any room for the image?
There was there wasn't. Yeah, we didn't even have to make the book. The font was so big.
That was the book.
Yeah, that was the book. Yeah.
All right, Nate, on the spot. What obscure DC character would you write, given the chance to write any DC obscure character? I have hundreds. I could go for hours on this, but I want to know what yours are.
Well, you said it. Like Hourman is the one to me. I'm fascinated by that kind of idea. I would probably keep it relatively old school, but I would also maybe do it in different time periods where you get the pill and it's different people and they have an hour to do whatever it is they got to do with that kind of thing. So I think that, I don't know if that's terribly obscure, but that's
no. Actually, Tom Pyre did a good run on Hourman, and he was one of our guests. So, and it holds up. It's really good. So, Nate, I'm looking forward to you writing an Hourman damage control crossover.
I'm on it.
He's on it. Nice. He's going to work on that in the green room, Mike. Don't you like how I put the guest back on the spot? Nate was already eating like a cheese sandwich. He was
getting ready to put in his robe. Yeah,
he was getting in his robe. People are still on your robe. They are still, and they thought Nate's joke was very good too.
I wonder if I could sell.
I don't know what Ruth is saying here. What's cinnamon?
Cinnamon. I wonder if I could sell a NFT of me in the robe.
Mike, if I can sell an NFT, you can too, but you got to take my class. It's 6 meetings, 1 hour each on a Sunday evening. It's all free. I teach you everything you need to know about NFTs and how to make money from them, and how not to get scammed. And in the end, you'll get that nice little NFT. Oh, look at this.
When does it start?
Look at this. Success robe. We leave off the second C for
success.
It starts next Sunday. And speaking next week, Elisa Quitney, my favorite Vertigo writer, Elisa.
Okay, Lisa.
Elisa.
Elisa, that's what I
Apparently,
said.
you're not going to co-host this until you get that name right. All
I'm
right,
just gonna
Mike.
call her Lisa the whole time.
That was it. That ends the show. I'm going to put you back in the green room. Would you please behave back there?
Tried to.
You try to. All right. So that's it for the show, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed this educational session with Nate Cosby. Honestly, I'm really impressed with his Kickstarter. When I reached out to Hannah, Hannah is a publicist who helps find many of these guests. She represents them, and I was like, hey, I want somebody real quick, but they've got to be good. And she showed me Nate's, and I knew Nate's work from being an editor, and I'd seen his work as a writer. But this Kickstarter looks great. I hope you guys check it out and really check out him on Twitter, because he does. I have seen him looking for different creators. So if you're trying to break in as anything except for a writer, penciler, colorist, inker, letterer, there's a good chance that Nate will look at your work. So definitely check that out. Again, join us next week where we'll have Elisa Quitney. She's writing a book for Ahoy Comics, and also check out our message boards, because we do have a couple of open seats for the NFT certification class. It's free now. In the future, I will charge you for it. I would charge my own grandmother for it. So don't think I won't take your money. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Your comments are always awesome, and I'm going to see if I can find the exit information. Mike, do you think I can do it without any help? This is called generic end credits. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.